Mom, the other day you said you would unpack every last box. The lie detector test determined you're a filthy lying piece of scum. Well, hi there, and welcome to Pokemon Sun and Moon Part 3. Nobody's home. Why does nobody ever seem to get that message? You know, I'm getting a real sense of deja vu here. This is like Groundhog Day. Every day I wake up and it's the same exact thing over and over again, and I go greet the professor who barges in? Okay, maybe this isn't Groundhog Day. Ah, it's Lillie! My favorite person, because she's not actually annoying like the professor and actually has manners, and she's apparently here running errands on behalf of the lazy professor. You know, Professor Cuckoo, you are quite a character. Oh, hi, Mom. I have a friend. Oh, some pocket money for me? Now, when she says pocket money, she's saying like 30,000 Pokedollars, which I always equated that to like yen, and yen is usually like supposed to be roughly 100 yen to a dollar. So that's like $300, but that's still insane. Back in my day when I played Pokemon, you started out with $3,000. Now you start out with like 35,000 when all is said and done. And yes, Mom, I do have a lovely friend. Alright, so today, rather than following the professor, we're going to be following Lillie instead. And this time, instead of heading north, we're going to go the other way north. The game's still scripted. Okay, to the west! You gotta be kidding me. I'm seriously blocked from going this way because of a Taro. Fine, we're going to the south. We're going to the south. So Lillie's going to continue this tutorial by telling you about how we have to go this way through tall grass because the professor apparently likes to surround himself with wild Pokemon. And Lillie's going to teach you about repels, which fend off wild Pokemon, which she apparently has to use because she's not a trainer. But apparently she doesn't realize that repels don't work unless you have a Pokemon that has higher speed stat at the front of your party than what you're running into. And once again, she's going to reiterate what she said like 2 videos ago about how this Pokemon's super rare and super duper secret. And that's why it keeps showing itself to everyone in the world, because shh, it's a secret, guys. If you head down here, you can talk to this guy. He's going to talk to you about one-way ledges. Ledges have been in Pokemon games forever. You hop down them, they're a one-way trip. You can't climb back up them. They usually serve as like a quick shortcut that allow you to skip over some stuff. In this case, it allows you to skip over this trainer battle to the right, as well as some wild grass and another trainer battle. Now, Route 1, in my opinion, can be broken down into approximately 5 different locations. We covered 2 of them in the last part. This area over here is the 3rd part, which is around the professor's lab. And it also features, in addition to 2 Pokemon trainer battles, it also features a few new Pokemon that we couldn't catch the last time. One of them, technically, you can catch in the areas that we covered in the last video, but you can only find it in the nighttime, and that is the Alolan form of Rattata. Rattata is a dark normal type Pokemon, and I personally think its Alolan form is a lot better than the original versions from first gen Pokemon. I think it's a little more well-rounded, I think the stats are a little bit more fine-tuned, and it's actually a bulkier Pokemon. Plus it picks up the dark type, which gives it a little bit more move versatility. Personally, I don't think it's quite to Greatball status, but if you're looking for an early Pokemon that you'll get rid of later on, Rattata's not bad. Additionally, you could pick up 2 more old school Pokemon, starting with Slowpoke, which is a water psychic type Pokemon. If you're going for Dex completion, remember that Slowpoke has 2 different evolutions depending on how you evolve it. I give it a Great Ball status. I think it's a fairly decent Pokemon. The other Pokemon you can catch here is Wingull, which I don't think is quite the Great Ball status, but like Rattata, it's not too bad in the early game, and it's something you probably wouldn't want to use for the entire length of the game. You could grab yourself an Awakening there, and then we could loop ourselves around to another trainer that we fight on this route. I've been talking about Pokemon that you can use in the early game and then get rid of later because of the way the EXP share is. We get that item in the next video. If you've played the 6th gen Pokemon games, you'll know that how the EXP share works in these games, where your entire party benefits from the experience share. So because of that, it's actually kind of nice to have Pokemon in the early game, even if you don't really plan on using them for the entire game, because they could pick up experience just by having them in your party. So that's just something, that's a new way I've been personally playing the Pokemon games. I've been trying to find ways to make the EXP share enhance my experience of the game, and one of them is I just use more than the usual amount of a team of 6 Pokemon. If you head down here, you could pick up a hidden pearl in the sand, and to the west of here is an area called 10 Carat Hill, but we can't go there yet because you need the ability to smash rocks. And then of course, the whole reason we're down here to begin with, the Pokemon Research Lab. My body is ready, ah ha 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 ha. Yeah, Lillie, let's go with that. The lab has its own unique charm, to say the least. Oh my goodness. I think the professor has a few screws loose. I think Professor Cuckoo's officially lost it. I love Lillie. Lillie is an awesome character. She's just like me. She's like, I have to do this now, and now I have to do this, but I can't do this because I'm bad at this. And then she starts rambling on, and then, wait a minute, we should probably go in and stop him from being a crazy lunatic. I concur, Lillie. Let's head inside. So this video is kind of your information dump for the series. There's a lot of information we're about to intake here. So brace yourself for information overload. Most of this is actually, to some extent, mildly new information. Talks a little bit about the new stuff in 7th Gen Pokemon, starting with an upgrade to your Pokedex, something new that's never really been done before. Basically, in this game, your Pokedex has a Rotom in it. Rotom is an electric-type Pokemon from 4th Gen. If you remember that Pokemon, I know I made a video on catching it forever ago. I think that was in Platinum? Ooh, I can't even remember. That was way too many moons ago. But Rotom's an electric-type Pokemon that basically has the ability to take over appliances and stuff. So in this game, they decided to stick a Rotom into your Pokedex, because why not? Yay, it's a whole new way to communicate. So this adds a little unique charm to your normal Pokedex, and the professor will explain that once he fine-tunes your Pokedex. Sorry for surprising you, Rotom. It's your fault for living in that Pokedex. Arrgh. Ha! I see what you did there, Professor. Give me a helping hand. Ha! Ha! 'Cause he's all about moves, and helping hand is a... Ooh, and the Pokedex even has some sass, too. Some people like I've been reading online communities, I've been reading up on what people think about the Rotom Pokedex and all the plethora of different things in the game. And I've seen some people who like the Rotom Pokedex and some people who don't like it. Personally, I'm pretty neutral on it. He does kind of have a bit of a personality, one that's a bit sassier for my tastes for a Pokedex, but he'll constantly basically be on the bottom screen giving you little tips, feedback, and the main feature of the Rotom Pokedex is basically it'll tell you where you need to go. So that kind of makes my job obsolete as a walkthrough tour guide. Ian, you're no help anymore. The game tells you where to go, so we don't need you anymore. The Rotom Pokedex is putting me out of work here. Hal's gonna stop by. He's gonna talk about really nothing of major importance other than Lillie's secret loft. And then the final thing that the professor said he would talk about in the last video is the Island Challenge. The Island Challenge replaces the gym battle system from the last Pokemon games, and instead we now travel around to 4 different islands, and each island has its own kahuna. The kahunas are basically the equivalent of gym battles, but there's a twist. Since there's only 4 kahunas instead of 8, you also have to head around the islands and also do these trials in the process. The trials, there's 7 of them throughout the game, and on these trials you meet certain trial captains who will tell you to go do something or other, and then once you accomplish that trial, you'll get a Z crystal, and that's pretty much the consensus of the Island Challenge. And that's because Alola is a small up-and-coming region, and it doesn't actually have its own Pokemon League yet. So that's why they have this Island Challenge system. So it looks like the Pokemon Island Challenge is ahead of us, and Professor Cuckoo recommends to start our adventure we go to school. Goody. Yay. Fun. Professor, I'm college educated. I don't need to go to school. I already know how to play Pokemon games. Anywho, that's the end of the very, very long information dump. Rotom's going to start now giving you advice as we go along. You can always tap in the center and it'll generally repeat what he says. If you tap around, you can pull up the Pokemon map and you can take a look at the region of Alola. And if you take a good look at the map, you'll realize that Alola is actually a pretty complicated region to navigate. In terms of the map, it's a pretty confusing map. I originally thought I wouldn't like the idea that the Rotom would basically tell you where to go, but I'm kind of grateful that it does, because Alola's map is pretty confusing. Ooh, Lillie's secret loft. Ooh, her diary. It just had to have a lock on it. Dear Diary, I met this handsome trainer named Sun. He was so cool. I mean, what? If you take a moment to head down to the professor's basement, there are 2 bookshelves that give you some information which are worth reading if you're new to Pokemon games. One of them talks about how Pokemon can learn up to 4 moves. If you try to learn a 5th, you have to get rid of one. The other one talks about the 3 types of moves: physical, special, and utility. And throughout the walkthrough, when we fight trainers, I'll generally note on my information area what moves are physical, special, and utility. Basically, they determine what stats apply to the moves that you're using, and if you're using the utility status moves, those are more so just for generic effects. Anyways, that's all we have to cover for this video, but before I wrap up the video, there are 3 things I want to talk about real quick. If you head back to the area of Route 1 we covered in the last video, in the nighttime you can pick up the Pokemon Spinarak. I give it a Pokeball status. It's not a particularly strong Pokemon. Additionally, I talked about Pokemon Refresh in part 1, and I forgot to mention something new to Pokemon Refresh. After battles, occasionally you'll be able to care for your Pokemon, and you'll get a couple different tools that you can use to basically take care of your Pokemon after a battle. This is most important because after a battle, you can actually get rid of most status effects that your Pokemon are inflicted with during battle so that you don't have to use items. The final thing that I want to cover is if you head back home and sleep in your bed, Meowth is going to come up to you and he's going to meow at you and he's going to be like, "Why are you sleeping? Have an awakening." Yay! Now, I know I showed Hidden Pearl earlier in the game, and I'm going to try to cover as many hidden items as I can throughout the series, but I'm not going to probably be able to hit and get every single one, but I'll try to cover what I can. Just remember that Pokemon games have a lot of hidden items thrown about around, so it never hurts to explore your surroundings. Later on, you'll get something like an item finder that will allow you to find hidden items, but that's for the future. Next time, we are heading off to school. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, day, or night, and I will see you all next time.